Hi everyone, this is weekly analysis, March 5th. Let's go through, let's start with Bitcoin and then go through all the active coins. Yesterday we had a quick call. I posted recording, so this can be a follow up of this. So if you have missed anyway, we'll go through in detail as usual. Starting with 1 day time frame. So yesterday I mentioned about the support. So definitely there was a sign of slowness, and um, there was a sign of slowness, and also I calculated a support, which I sometimes the supports are dynamic. I mean, you have to readjust dynamically when there is a major move. So once it stopped here, I figured that this is a potential support. So far it is able to hold it. From a 1 day point of view, we'll get into weekly time frame later. So first we are going through the lower level detail, because it's important right now. Today next 2 days are important. In fact, these days each and every day is important. But point is, these are like level where things could go either way. That's why it's more important. Right. So what do I see on 1 day time frame? Definitely, there is an attempt from Bitcoin, and I see some of the altcoins are um, going up, which is usually the case when the Bitcoin is silent or sometime goes up, then they go up as well. Especially when the Bitcoin stop falling after a major drop, alt race away. That's a typical behavior. That's why we see good gain with some of the coins, if not all. And interestingly, Bitcoin hasn't moved much in last 12 hours. It is kind of flat. If we look at 1 hour for a moment, you can see that how it is behaving. Um, so here, it, this support held up for some time and then found another lower support. Now, if you look at this, is still a valid support, the white, of course, but then it found another one which was close by. What we could see here is there were multiple attempts. There are multiple attempts to break above the, what is this number? I always forget. S6. So there are multiple attempts to break above S6, but right now it's range bound. It's trying to break above, but not quite able to on hourly. If you look at, so multiple attempts here. The positive part is it's not giving up at this moment. This level is maintained, but to me, this is not a sign of strength. Of course not. So it's just more like it's like consolidating, like what it did here. This was also a resistance, and then it consolidated and then made a new low. We have to see how it behaves. Point is, right now, to be honest, unless we have a major move, what I mean by major move means something like this, something like this, or something like this. Any small move is kind of, it's not going to help us bringing the price up, in my opinion. There has to be a big move like this, and not just one move, but a consistency. What I'm seeing is there are definitely good moves like this one. If you look at it, this is 12-hour candle, right? So even if we, let's say 1 day, this is not a bad move. These are not bad moves at all. In fact, these are great moves. Look at this one, this one, and this one. These are not ordinary bounds, these are significant bounds. However, what it lacks is the momentum, continuation, consistency. So maybe for a day or two, it just goes up and then dies. That's what is happening. what we need to see is, of course, the levels matter, but also consistency matter. So the momentum, the energy is still missing. um, you never know when it comes, right? But at this moment, as and currently, there's no sign. um, but one thing is for sure, since it go ahead has gone down, it is likely to try with the one bounce and then decide what. So that's why yesterday I drawn an arch, which I removed for clarity at this moment. But basically, uh, the pattern that I see here is, let's say this is not so visible on the one day, maybe. So what might possible, not a guarantee, but you can say this is like a tilted head and shoulder. So I was thinking that there could be one shoulder, uh, f- you know on the right hand side, like this, something like this. So if you consider the left hand side and the head part and the right shoulder, now in that case, of course, this is going to be decisive point. If it follows, if it continues, so first of all, it has to take off for this to form. It hasn't. What it has done is, the let's say, if we think that this is potentially head and shoulder, which is, the head and shoulder is not head and shoulder unless the shoulder is formed. So that's the thing. You may say 70% is done or whatever, X% is done, but right now it's not completely formed. And then once it is formed, you drag the neckline, and for potential next move. For example, there was a good chance that it would have, you know, there was a good chance of inverted head and shoulder a couple of days ago. Like, this is left shoulder, this is head, and then there could have been a one right, and then could have gone up, but it didn't work out when once it broke below this level. So that's what happened. We identify a potential pattern, we track it, and then we say, okay, what is required for this pattern to complete? Right. So if inverted pattern would have complete, I would say, if this particular drop would have gone up from the yellow level or just below yellow level, and then took a U-turn. It didn't happen. If that would have happened, then we would have inverted head and shoulder, and then we could say, okay, now it's now somewhere here and then ready to launch. However, when it broke, I said it's gone, right? So, and then of course these levels it continue breaking. Now this is another pattern. It will keep on creating pattern. So 12-hour level is fine because this pattern at 12 hours doesn't change so often. So um, if this is a pattern where now, let's say, this is left shoulder, this is head, this could be a right shoulder. In that case, sometime if it reaches here and then a decision point and then could go up. So again, the way inverted head and shoulder didn't work out, the head and shoulder might not work out here as well, and that would be good for long, right? Because if the head is not sorry, right hand shoulder is not created, and price goes up or continue going up from here on, then this particular pattern will fail, and that will be good for bulls, right? And so that's why certain levels are important, certain points are important for any pattern to be complete, or determine whether the pattern will is likely to complete or not, right? So that's a condition. So right now this is a pattern. I mean, you can zoom out and find out different pattern at different levels, but this is at 12 hours what I see here. And yeah, as I said, so if this head and shoulder continues, and then it could go down and make a new low and so on. What I'm seeing is this blue rectangle is more important. So I'm now zooming out. What I talk about is more 12 hours. Now I'm zooming out. When I zoom out, let's zoom out at one day. Right? Zoom out. What we are seeing here is the blue box, and then bunch of levels. I think the most important thing, which I'll talk about, the level is will be in the weekly. But since on one day there's not much additional information than what we talked about in 12 hours, because here also we see a glimpse of head and shoulder, if not proper, but at least, yeah, it's a glimpse of it. Right. So, uh, you may think from this as from a little different pattern. If we don't want to name it, what we can see here is this is a cluster here, and then there can be a cluster here, a consolidation zone maybe like this, and then it goes up. That's a possibility. Bottom line is this is a potential opportunity, if not a confirmation. Okay. Uh, for me, on one day, if it is able to break above, let's say 41K, now this particular orange line is near 41K, 40775. So if it is able to break above 41K, then I'll say okay. Now, it doesn't. It wants to do something interesting on for the upside more. So anything below 41K is not good enough. So if it consolidate here in this region, that's not good enough. At least it has to show that show a move above 41K. Then we can say we're not talking about any downside move. Right? So that's on one day level. I would expect it to break above 41K for us to take interest. So at this moment, um, looks showing positive sign but not good enough. Okay, wait a minute. So, from right, so as we can see here, it started moving up now a little bit. So that's more low level stuff. We'll zoom out now. I would like to switch to Bitstamp. Okay, this line is the most important line in my opinion. This line, because the whole entire structure is actually holding, based on this line. This is a angle. Of course, this is early sign, and if you make it horizontal, then the orange line becomes important. Right? So in this case also we had initially horizontal line, sorry, angle line at this angle, and there was a ugly wick down. So that's the only thing I might see here, that there can be another drop, and then so this is very tricky pattern. So that's why I would like to track starting from the white line and then orange line, and in between this dotted line. These are the three key levels I would keep in mind. Orange line, if you ask me, has not so much important. It was important here. It is not important here, because if this red line is broken, 30960, then I doubt the orange line will be able to hold it. That's why. So the most important line is the white line and the red dotted line. Okay, so the weekly chart, if you look at, um, 80 of the gain is gone, and that's not good. So we can easily say the weekly is weak, really weak. We can draw a simple trend line also, and if you draw this trend line, then there were rejections, and this is really good but not able to stay above. So we'll try to look from different angles. From a trend line point of view, it is below, right? But from this particular trend line point of view, it is above. So we can say this is a area under which it's consolidating. Maybe because of this spike, we can make this larger, so we have more room here. unfortunately, because it retraced to so much. If it could have stayed here, then probably we could say this is at a breakout level, but this is too much. This drawdown is too much. So, anyway, so from this trend line point of view, it is above the support and it is below the downtrend line from this particular wave point of view, right? So this is from a trend line point of view in general. Then from a pattern point of view, we are following the rectangular pattern here, and this is approximately a midline, and considering this belt, this is below. Anything below is not good enough. For example, here it's below, not good enough. Sorry, here below, not good enough. It here it penetrated, but kind of able to break able to recover from here on. It didn't go down all the way or settle all the way here. Right. So these attempts were okay. This attempt is also okay, and then but now all these are positive attempts, and this was also a positive attempt. However, it's kind of consolidating below this line, right? So I mean, I don't want to complicate things, and I don't want to. Just for clarity, we can consider different patterns and all, but if we simplify, it has to be here. It has to be ideally here, or at least somewhere here. That's why I have two levels. One is, let's say, 48k level, and another is 53k level. These are two important levels for it to go. I mean, from a trend point of view, to break this particular downtrend. So I'm going to change the topic a bit, and we'll bring Nasdaq. So from before going into that, right now weekly look. If you look at, this is still a positive consolidation. This is still positive. This is not dead pattern. This is still a good pattern. What we don't want is in this region. Um, Risk management point of view, I won't talk about more because I have talked enough. So unless someone has question, I think I covered everything so far. So there's nothing to be add. I mean, nothing to be added here. Um, okay, so this downtrend line has to be broken. This has to be maintained, and then it has to be on the upper part. These are the requirements. Okay, on weekly. Mm, See, we don't have to find anything else, in my opinion. Uh, yeah, I mean, these are the important factors. What else? Yeah, that's enough from the point of view. Now, from macro point of view, fundamentals point of view, it's a reaction. It's directly proportional, not exactly in terms of percentage, but in terms of direction or movement. Is more in line with Nasdaq. Right now, I don't have the version that I shared day before yesterday, where I shown how it is. But maybe um, let me try to add here, if I may. What right now 2 days are off, so we will. It's interesting what Bitcoin does in absence of Nasdaq or broader market. Not just Nasdaq. I'll show something more as well. Um, and let me um okay, it's in here. So should we look at weekly? I think weekly is all right, but we can look at daily as well. Shape is going to be a little different. What is important is the key level. So for example, starting going up from here. um, okay, so this is low for Bitcoin. May and Nasdaq also made low. Okay, in the Bitcoin there was a double retest, couple of retest. Nasdaq didn't retest, that's the difference. But if you look at mid May, both mid low, right? So here in this case, Bitcoin spent time in month of June near the low where Nasdaq's continue going up. But eventually, BTC caught up and then went up. If you compare September, look at both of them corrected, both of them corrected, and then for next 2 3 weeks, both of them went down. Right here, look at this, both the sides, and then both of them gone up, right? And look at this one, all. So this is new all-time high for Bitcoin, and this is also new all-time high for Nasdaq. Very interesting. And in this case, Nasdaq tried to go up. That's the only difference, where the Bitcoin continue going down, right? And then there is so Bitcoin, actually this particular phase is at a higher end, this is at a lower end. That's the only difference. And then if you focus this one, now this cluster and this cluster, so the shape is little bit different, and also sometime it's different, because the percentage movement, right? But I think you would agree that if you consider this low, consider this big, this low, this, then they are in line, right? So that's my point, and that's more important, because then it's not about each and every move, or I mean hour or day is in line. But I think from a bigger picture point of view, they are in line. Okay, that's for sure. So sometimes it's okay to say Bitcoin is following Nasdaq, but to me, the way I say is, because sometimes it's, yeah, you can say because Nasdaq is bigger, so sometimes we say so. I put it differently, that both of them having the similar algorithm. Okay, because both of, when I say algorithm, means both of them are having same risk model. Now you can say Nasdaq is index, it's not a algo. That's true. So in other words, who is weighing more on Nasdaq? Tech stock. Right? So we can say anything that tech stock is relying, let's say Microsoft, Apple, or any other Nasdaq heavy. So if you look at the Nasdaq's weightage, few tech stock actually weigh more than 50%, right? So totally out of proportion. And so we can say indirectly, right? So it's like A is greater than B and B is greater than C. So we say A is greater than C. That kind of logic I'm trying to apply here. So basically that's why I've been saying that Bitcoin is acting like a stock, tech stock. In other words, whatever criteria that tech stocks are having in their price movement is also the same for Bitcoin. That's my conclusion, right? So you can imagine whatever is driving Apple, Microsoft, and some other coins, the same kind of a risk management model is also there for Bitcoin, because it's not a coincidence. We are not talking of a one day move. This is weekly time frame, and we saw different touch point, right? And this is not coincidence. So definitely they must have algorithm which are very similar, if not the same. Right? There is no doubt about it because data are suggesting so. So this is very important. And so of course watching Nasdaq makes sense, but it's not that you look at the Nasdaq and you figure out what is happening with Bitcoin, because it's not that one is doing something, they are doing sometime at the same time, and there can be some lag. Sometime Bitcoin goes up, sometime Nasdaq goes up first, and so on. So they are not exactly, so it's not that Bitcoin is following Nasdaq. So some people are saying so, but I'm not saying so for these reasons. In fact, you can do the opposite. If you want to trade on Nasdaq, you can look at Bitcoin, because they're not going to be different. So point is, I would not say Bitcoin is following Nasdaq, but we can say the tech stock, which are whatever model they are having, Bitcoin having the similar model. I think that's more appropriate in my opinion. Okay, so that's more about the movers. I don't think, another thing, I don't think this is war related stuff. This is happening for before war. Okay, of course, war impacts. I'm not saying war has no impact. I didn't mean that. So it's not, don't try to interpret black and white. What I'm saying is, this could have happened even this was not a war situation, probably not so volatile. War has um, added more volatility, especially because of the commodity price, the oil price. So anticipation of higher inflation and potentially higher interest rate or more interest rate hike is the anticipation, and that's why there's volatility. That's why whenever Biden says something, whenever chairman Paul says something, market goes up and down, because it's not about war. It's it's about mainly about Fed's policy. One day when Biden spoke about Swift ban, only one occasion I saw, but most of the cases it's all about Fed and interest rate inflation data. So there's no single factor, but what I'm saying is the major factor is inflation and Fed's policy, central bank's policy, in my opinion. Why? Because the tech stocks are credit driven in many ways, because they are growth stocks. They need a lot of credit. So anyway, I don't want to digress. Unless you have a question, I can expand the topic, because I would like to stick to the weekly. But I thought maybe these are relevant factors, so you might be interested. So I'm just adding. But yeah, tech stocks are more vulnerable to the interest rate, because they look for the growth. They need more credit, and in that case, why Apple is better? Because they have more cash, so they have lesser dependency on credit. Of course they have dependency, but comparatively lesser. That's why it's more robust than other. So very interesting topic, very interesting subject. Understanding beyond Bitcoin is very important. Bitcoin is very small thing, still a small thing in a bigger capital market. Understanding capital market is more important in my opinion, especially in this case. um, and whatever is happening with commodities and all, right? So we have different channel for it, and I'm providing update, providing opportunity. Those who join are would have realized that we are beating the index and making profit. So those who join know about it, and they can shout if I'm wrong. Because here it's all about understanding the big game, and understand, I mean, put your money in where it could grow, right? So right now crypto is cold, commodities are hot. Okay, let's go back to our main theme. But I think this was worth explaining or worth sharing. um okay, so these are macro fundamentals that personally I'm tracking and looking in every day. What else? I think this is it. So, in other words, mm, focusing on broader capital market, commodities, Fed's policy, and all that is more important than focusing on Bitcoin. Forget about alts at this moment. Alts have no identity at this moment. I'm not trying to be rude or not trying to trivialize their importance. What I'm trying to say is they're puppets at this moment. Okay. Um, there may be one coin. Let's, for an example, 2 days ago, that Rune coin RUNE went up. I was curious why, and somebody, told me that there is a mainnet going on, or they're launching. So, sometimes some coin go up for some reason for few days, but when we talk about trend, it's about the topic I just mentioned, right? So some coin might go up for a few days for some good news, but they are not necessarily trend changer. So if you are able to grab those opportunities, oh, then well and good. But sometimes it's time sensitive, and you never know how far they'll go, right? But when you catch a trend, then there is more stability and more predictability. Otherwise, and you don't have to time a lot. You when you do swing trading. So I don't say one method is good better than other. I would say if possible go for the both. The portfolio can be divided for very short term move, because sometimes there is nothing, then you can play with some short term move, and then there can be a one stream where you follow the swing trading. I personally don't believe in holding blindly, um, like many people think. I way more on the swing trading and a trend. Holding blindly means either you don't know where it could correct, or you don't worry about 80-90% of correction. So if, yeah, there are people who says, okay, now I'm going to hold for 4 5 years and I don't mind 80-90% correction. So if there are people like that, then it's okay. But they don't know that many coins, their life cycle is just good for one bull run. Because they're new, they don't know. Those who are old, though, they know that not all coins made new all-time high. What we are saying is a new league of coins. But if you look at coins from 2015 and 16, count how many coins are really making new all-time high from that previous bull run I'm talking about, right? Not even LTC, not even XRP, no EOS, so many other coins. They haven't made new all-time high in this bull run compared to previous bull run. So what I'm saying is there are so many new coins that went up in this bull run. When the next cycle comes in, not necessarily uh, they'll do the same, right? If they have really good fundamentals, right, like Ethereum has fundamentals, because it's still relevant, still being used, and in fact usage is increased. Bitcoin is still relevant, and some other coins, that's why they are going up and made new all-time high. But look at so many other coins from previous bull run, and you compare, you will understand why blind buy and hold doesn't make sense, right? So when you buy and hold, you have to also understand that what you're holding really, right? So if you're holding utility coins, for an example, probability of those coins to survive for the next cycle is lesser. I'm not saying they'll all will die, but you have to be very cognizant about what you're holding. When you hold a platform coin, if the platform is in use and growing, and then the probability of that to survive for multiple cycles, like Ethereum, then yeah, otherwise it's not, right? So very important. Anyway, so these are few, I would say, I mean, based on experience, and it's not that you cannot find. I was just highlighting few things, because why I'm saying it, some people might think, oh, even if it Bitcoin goes down below 29K, I'm going to hold. It's a choice, because if Bitcoin may go down even 17K, or even lesser. But if someone says I'm fine for 1 year, I'm fine for 2 year, then it's all right. But then I don't want to go personal, but then I would argue that why are you spending time or money on opportunity? Because if the plan is to hold for 2 years, then why are you paying me? I mean, business wise, it's good for me, but then I would say why you're paying me, kind of thing. So very interesting. Um, so I think, of course, it's a personal choice. Anyways, so I touched base some fundamentals. To me, if it breaks below white line, coming back to the TA stuff, then it's in trouble, right? And then multiple levels. So I would track white line and probably this candle slow in January, and then this red line. If this is gone, then we are talking about deeper. Let's look at the monthly without drawing. See, if you look at monthly, you will find out there is a serious problem here. This particular candle, the previous month's candle, is almost eaten by this drop, right? It's almost gone, almost gone. So for from a monthly point of view, we need at least 44K, isn't it? So 44K, ideally it should be like 46, 47, right? From a monthly candle point of view, at least we need above January candle high, right? Which is around 5,850. It's 46K would be good enough for us to get out of this. At this moment, this is a consolidation near the bottom, right? We don't want that. We want this kind of a thing. So this candle is good, like this one, but this candle is no good. Month hasn't ended. I don't want to conclude. This is just the fifth day of the month, because you know that on Friday it made 18% move, right? And if we get good a few days, then this red candle might go away. So that's not a problem, right? But the point is, we have to keep an eye. We have to keep seeing what is happening. So monthly chart also very important. So if you're not tracking, I insist or suggest you do, right? Especially times like this. And you can clearly see that this particular month's candle, just fifth day, and it is a lot of gain from the previous month. So definitely this is derailing the gain from the last month, right? Which is not a good sign at this moment, right? So we want some really good pump here on, not a tiny one, a really good one. So the big picture has to be kept in mind. Otherwise, there is confusion, there is shock, emotional, turbulences here and there. So weekly, monthly need to be looked at whenever possible. It won't take time. It will take a minute. You don't need fancy drawing. You don't need fancy TA. Just open monthly, look at where it stands. Is it above the previous month at this moment? No, not good enough. Just I'm trying to as simplify as I mean as much as possible. Okay, because the crypto market is right now so volatile. It will play with everyone's emotion, and that's what I'm saying. So open monthly, hide all the drawing. You don't need to be TA. Look at this. You want this candle to be green. If you forget everything, fine. Don't forget this. That this candle has to be green for you to think anything for higher side. This is the bare minimum condition. Okay. So that's the important message. What else? I could look into quarterly also, which I do track, and I also track 6 month chart as well sometimes. See, the quarterly is not so bad, but if it comes down to 33K like this particular cap, then it's really bad. That's why if this low is broken, then Bitcoin is in trouble, right? And then we are talking about the top. Okay, and yeah, and then we are talking about drop and then deeper drawdown. Then this is more like head, and then you can imagine what might happen. So at this moment we don't have to think, but if this particular quarterly candle is broken, I doubt this particular low will be able to hold it. Very low probability, very low probability. So if you want to see, yeah, so from a quarterly chart point of view, the 332,950 it's showing as a low, that must not be broken. Of course, this is the last one, 28,600, 28,600. After that there is nothing. After that the major is 19k. So on a quarterly, 17k to 19k, there are in between level 24k and 27k, but if these two levels are taken out, then there is nothing but 17k to 19k. So on quarterly we need it. Now from a bull point of view, I would say look at 48k. It makes sense. 48k, it makes sense. If you look at weekly, daily, 48k roughly, that range is so important. So I'm also tracking that. 48k, give me 48k, and we are talking about 90k, right? 48k, 58k, 53 is one. From this candle point of view, it's important, but to me, even if we get 48k, I'm happy, more than happy. Then majority of the you know work is done. Then just a final stamp at 53k. So 48k, I can say if we get 48k, then we get 90k, and if we go above 90k, then we get 110k. So that's a bull scenario. So in summary, 48k is required. I'm talking about macro, a big one, right? This is quarterly, big one, and then we must have protection against 32,800. That's the low. Sorry, here 33,950. Yeah, so it must be defended. So that this is a big picture. Another thing is, from a big picture, those who are TA, they know what I'm talking about. See, this whole entire thing is rounding out. This is rounding. This is top. So I'm very closely monitoring what it is trying to do here. Don't get me wrong, but this is not showing me good vibe. I mean, this is not giving me any good vibe here. This rounding top is not giving me any comfort. So I'm watching, and this thing takes time. It takes months sometime for it to develop. But those who know some TA would understand what I'm trying to say. I'm not expecting everyone to understand, because some contents I'm trying to deliver for them also, because I think they would like to learn from TA from me, and I'm trying my best to deliver my content at different levels. But it is possible some of the things you might not understand, and which is fine, maybe in future. So those who are already doing some TA would know what I'm saying. So this is kind of streaming out wave rounding, and that's my concern. And if you look at the size of the leg is shrinking. This is the tallest, then smaller, and then this is smallest, and then this is. So if this is the case, then this is a potential reversal for the whole entire wave, and that's my concern. I'm not calling out yet, but that's my concern. And this thing will take time. So right now I'm just tracking. I'm not concluding anything. So right now it's more private information than public information. You may say that, but yeah, I wanted to share what I'm thinking. So there is no conclusion here. So don't try to say I'm saying of a disaster, but when you are a TA, you have to think beyond. Okay, on as I said, so we will get 90K, 110K, or we'll get 17K or a little lower. We'll see, and we'll be tracking. What I'll do is I'll end this Bitcoin session and start the alt.